Welcome to Laptop Radio. Today's topic is writing the book, The Force in Bitcoin. And we have the author of the book, Georgi Karov, with us. And he is the founder of BHAS and author of the book, The Force in Bitcoin. Hello, Georgi. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine.
Where are you located?
Currently, I'm located in my country. I'm from Bulgaria.
Awesome.
Yeah, in the last few years, we were in Spain, before that in Norway, roaming around. To be in this field makes you a little bit nomad. But now, in this moment, we are in my hometown, in my home country in Bulgaria.
Awesome. So tell us about you.
What to say? What to start? I'm a lawyer most of my life in the last 20 something years. In most of the time, just mainly civil law lawyer in my jurisdiction in Bulgaria. I practiced few years also in UK, 2008, 2011. And after 2010, my time have come. That means, I always had some taste for technology. When Bitcoin emerged, it wasn't absolutely big surprise for me because from the dawn of internet, I was following this group of Wei Dai, Tim May, the old crypto anarchists of the late 90s. So when the Bitcoin emerged, when this advent happened, it was like starting the time which I was expecting to do. So around 2014, 2015, I gradually transformed all my practice to be crypto related.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and after several years of working in this field, the urge to put down all the ideas, all the observations, all the knowledge, and so on in some more ordered format as a book writing came. Initially, I started writing some articles on Steemit,
Mm-hmm.
on Medium, and then I wrote this book.
Awesome. So, how was the process of writing the book? Do you enjoy it? Like, what are some of the challenges you find?
Okay, whether I enjoyed, apparently, I was very surprised of myself because to write down this book, which appeared to be almost 700 pages, wasn't intended. It was absolutely spontaneous. And the creation of the bulk text took something like 3, 4 months,
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly fast. And the challenges, the major challenge is when you try to formulate a chapter,
Mm-hmm.
while you are exposing your thoughts, this generates new thoughts, and you have to sometimes, it changes absolutely the concept
Mm-hmm.
of the chapter. Although the whole book is like, imagine like a diamond or other precious stone cut in facets. So you have 16 facets, which are different angles to think about or to conceptualize or to associate about the old knowledge with the field of Bitcoin, the blockchain in general. So this is the challenge, that when you start arranging the information in chapters or other blocks of texts, new interpretations come, and it happened dozens of times during writing of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And these new interpretations, they deserve to be in, so they change a little bit the structure. The other enjoyable effect is when you are overloaded with information, to write a book on this, especially containing many new ideas, it's kind of overloading. So you start having the urge to organize all this information somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put it on paper, so to say, you kind of forget, and this frees your mind for new ideas, which is very positive effect also. The the most pragmatic initial target about the book was, in our sector, it's very young. It's so young that nobody has practically more experience, especially in the legal side, not more than experience than 5, 6, totally 7 years, because the blockchain era is only a decade. It looks like now like centuries, so many events, so many things, but it's very shallow, like geological layer is millimeters.
Mm-hmm.
So in our sector, in our sphere, in order to prove competence of some kind, it's impossible just to show some work record, because usually it contains only a few items. So this also was the pragmatic but very sideways purpose of this book. If somebody is interested of me and so on, they can check the book and see what I can conceptualize, visualize, and so on.
And then also, when you're outlining the topics for the book, what are some thought process that you went through to design the content?
Well, very, very good question, by the way. Thank you for that. The book, as one of the people who, this is very big honor for me, Bob Hettinger agreed to put 100 words of foreword, and he produced more than 1,000. This is very big honor, because actually this is the father of financial cryptography, the guy who actually in 90s coined the term. And he mentioned that in the foreword, the neology. Inevitably, you have, when you write something about this, because there's no words, you either have to steal some old word and to put some content or meaning into it, or you are pressed to invent new words. So initially I resisted this process, but then using more conventional etymological roots and methods of creation of neologisms, I just did a glossary of these terms. And they were, not some absolutely crazy, but, methodically produced new words. Maybe some of them will go into the exchange in the so to say linguistic turnover. So we shall see. This was the biggest challenge, how to name the things, because new concepts is very confusing when they are named after some old stuff.
And also, what kind of intention or mission do you want to accomplish by the book? Say, if I were to go out and buy the book, do you want to inspire me? Do you want to provide me with thoughts about integrating crypto or blockchain with current society and technology? Do you want us to give us a different perspective of how to see the world, or all of them, or anything that I didn't mention?
Well, most of these things. The first thing is that this book is not some kind of promotion material, because Bitcoin, especially the first of this kind, Bitcoin doesn't need promotion. It's like nucleation event which grows faster and faster. Now it has consumed less than 1% of, so to say, the mankind or the human world, but this accelerates and will permeate and saturate everything comparatively soon. We're talking about years. So rather than, the purpose of the book is to show, it's like to create multiple axes of observation in order to create a multi-dimensional picture of Bitcoin from as many points of view as possible. So to be useful for including, to place where is the Bitcoin in terms of complexity, where is the Bitcoin in terms of sourcing of entropy. These are the major fields, the major sources of existence of mankind. From the other hand, it's not, some of the chapters, some places sound on first glance very, very esoteric, very abstract, but also the target is, the goal is this book to be good for the average person. When I say the average person, I say it with absolute respect, because the average persons are those who are moving this world ahead. And understanding is very valuable resource, very valuable contribution. That's why a friend of mine, actually, this Yan Wang, who wrote the last foreword, he mentions in the foreword that this is not a book, this is just like a small library, rather like a small library. Well, maybe, because it's the structure of the book is a little bit holographic. You can read it fast, you can read it slow. Some in a single paragraph of something like 10 lines, sometimes there are hyperlinks to entire books, and if you want to read all the layers, it can take you years. But everything is very well referred, so This way, the reader, if they go interested into something, they can go very, very deep in this detail, and they can come back with new ideas. So this is something like a creativity trigger also. It's like a compendium or thesaurus, so, but simultaneously they are quick reading portions. So this book you can start reading from the middle, from anywhere. You can read it from in different slices. It's like a portal. This is the idea. It's a portal to as much comprehensive knowledge about the position of Bitcoin, blockchain, the technology, the code into the universe, into the mankind, into the society as possible. This was, it's not some target you can just put and achieve, but this is like a direction towards such a target. And it seems, I'm very self-critical, by the way, not perfectionist, but it seems that I kind of made it into this direction.
Awesome. And the title is called The Force in Bitcoin. Let's talk about the force. What do you mean by the force?
Well, the force, force is very physical notion indeed.
Mhm.
For some reason, we have this division of between hard and soft sciences. When we're talking about historical forces, it's like we're putting them into different category compared with gravity. But indeed, looking from point of view of entropy and algorithm, every force is entropically driven. It's like it's about number of states, it's about probabilities. In that sense, the first notion about that is about the growth dynamics, the value growth dynamics of Bitcoin. It's shown in the first couple of chapters. In Bitcoin, there is a power law of growth. The power law is on 3.3 order power of 3.3, which means that with each halving, that means cutting in half of the supply, you have correspondingly about 10 times increase. This is 2 on 3.3 power. We have such, all the forces in nature are power laws, different power, which forms kind of hierarchy. So it's not just poetic analogy, but in the book, I demonstrate that it's all about forces. It's distributed. Bitcoin is not a classical object, which has specific localization like in the classical Newtonian mechanics. But also, in order this to be more workable, I introduced the notion of hyper objects, like, weather is a hyper object. Mankind is a hyper object. Many such very distributed systems, like internet is an object. Internet, the only difference between internet and any computer chip in your phone is the size. With the computer chip in your phone, the size allows you to put in your pocket, but with the internet, you are inside this gigantic device. So forces act upon objects. Different objects interact between each other. You have the notion of mutual entropy, which shows how the objects reduce the states to each other. The same effect we have with Bitcoin over the hyper object of Bitcoin acts upon the hyper object of society or mankind or humanity or this world. They interact. What Bitcoin gives is, I use this analogy, it's like a stator. It's like the unmoving part of the motor, which is so stable that it allows the economy to rotate around it with very high speed. It's a little bit elementary comparison or analogy, but it works to grasp that in order to have a stable monetary system, it must be very, very hard to change. Extremely hard. It must take unbelievable amounts of force or information or power to change it. And starting from this purely physical roots, I recap or put together or collect the lines or collimate these notions into one more or less consistent view across from very basic physics, probability theory, to the soft sciences of economics, because the modern economics is not very, it's a little bit outdated. It's like 150 years behind the physics, but also to the sociology, even some biological or ecological nuances and associations are very, very good to be shown next to what we know about Bitcoin from the economical and technical point of view.
Awesome. And I noticed that the word Bitcoin is in the title of the book and not Ethereum, not any other alternative coin, and not blockchain technology or distributed ledger technology. Is there a reason for that?
Well, the reason is to avoid confusion because, one thing is the technology. The other thing is the huge number of sects and ideologies around it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think that distributed ledger technology is more general term than Bitcoin itself. Other people say that blockchain is the more general thing and Bitcoin is one of the blockchains. But how to explain it? Okay, maybe this is the best way. When Satoshi, whoever or whatever he is or she or it is, created Bitcoin, it created simultaneously the blockchain either. This is like, imagine if somebody from scratch, from minerals, decides to produce the first organism. They have to put together also the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
But once you have the DNA, you can produce other organisms.
Mm-hmm.
In that sense, Bitcoin is the seed. Everything else, aside from Bitcoin, is just variations, mutations of the initial design. In that sense, they are Bitcoin. Like we have narrow money and broad money. Maybe this is a little bit British slang about that. But in the same way, we have blockchain in the narrow sense is Bitcoin. In the broad sense is everything else which imitates Bitcoin. The technology, the design, which sits in the heart of any blockchain is Bitcoin. You can change a little bit the hash system, you can change this and that. There are several possible consensus mechanisms, but these are variations of one and the same thing. That's why I don't see, not from fundamentalist, not from maximalist point of view, I don't see the point to include any of the others because, it's like, imagine if it's like a book talking about genetics and DNA, somebody to expect also this book to include the names of all the animals possible.
Yeah.
Not the first organism, which is enough, because everything else is genealogical variations of the initial design with little changes. In that sense, I don't disrespect the rest. I just amalgamate this under the initial word, which was Bitcoin. And I think, yeah, maybe I managed to answer this question this way.
Awesome. And is there anything else you want to share about the book that I have not asked you?
Well, the interesting side, the technical side or fundamental science or philosophy side is just like some building foundation. For some people like me, it's extremely interesting. But there are several chapters which deal with more mundane side of the thing. This is the second part of the second half of the book mostly. Like, the chapter conclusion is dealing with the commons, the inclusivity, the ownership and such stuff from point of view of fields which are connected with Bitcoin. So you can understand what's the situation of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin enabled technologies, we can call them other blockchains and so on, in terms of how they deal with the ownership system. We have several generations of ownership systems.
Mm-hmm.
And I show in the book that, for instance, the Bitcoin works in both ways. It gives better conditions for simultaneously higher inclusivity, which we need very much because the current system is a little bit choked and it cannot cater this increased population with centralized methods, and simultaneously increases the exclusivity side, which means the private property. So you have more access and simultaneously better protection at once. There is a special chapter for the necessity to transcend by technology the natural, beautiful limitations, neurological bottlenecks of the human nature, which shape the society and why our society is thus shaped. Also, I pay a lot of attention because I'm a lawyer. Of course, I have professional deviations in that. The chapter Consentics is devoted 100% on politics, law, regulation, and compliance. And I think I kind of make it to arrange them like a stack, one coming from the other. The Consentics is made up word, which, like electronics or like physics, it deals with all the possible system for capturing, recording, processing, distribution, and execution of any kind of consensus, of agreement. And we actually, this is like, like an attempt for, this is absolutely beyond my capabilities, but it's like a challenge to the other researchers to kind of create general theory of opinion, how we decide things together, how we maintain this agreement, how we reflect it, how we execute it. This is very important, and this is actually the core of any type of organization. Even if we're talking about two people only, or if we're talking about trillions of people someday in the future. The last half of the book actually is more oriented towards the everyday life. It's like an attempt, each of these chapters is to capture some of these major sectors of human activity. That means everyday human life of every normal, good human being. And I hope I help in these things, because I'm in several of the directions I managed to find the axis, the main vector.
Awesome. And also, the book is available on Amazon.
Yes.
And that's the only place people can get it.
Well, yes. For now, yes. From the very beginning, I was a little bit reluctant to go to a publisher because of I'm a lawyer. This is not my major job. I told you to write book. I hope this is my last book. And to go to a classical publisher is very hard, because this means 6 to 9 months arguing and fighting with the editor. Super many, massive number of requirements. It's very heavy, very burdensome process. That's why I preferred go to Amazon, because Amazon, they have everything what you need. They have a bookstore. You can be your own publisher. Actually, what I did is I hired an artist. The book contains more than 250, I don't know exactly, illustrations, visual objects, from purely artistic impressions to very precise tables of text. So Amazon gave the best freedom, the best royalty policy. I don't know. I don't want this to sound like advertisement of Amazon, but this is it. Purely statistically, they have the biggest network. They have the best conditions. This choice to start trading with books was the nucleation event of this super giant corporation. God bless them. This proves that good business models, good things always prevail. So that's why it's on Amazon. The reason why I put an ebook, because they have special software product where you produce actually your ebook. Is comparatively simple. You put the illustrations, everything, arrange the text and so forth. It also allows to produce a paperback. The unique thing is that the paperback is truly print on demand. You can order one copy and it will be printed and delivered to you. It doesn't have a series of numbers which are produced and then printed again. This is continuous process. The reason for I need something like, I don't know, maybe marathon of 72 sleepless hours to put together the PDF. And I will find this time recently, but also the cost, because it's quite a huge book. It's like a brick. I found one in my library, one book which is with this format, 6x9, about 700 pages. It's impressive. It's a huge book indeed. The production cost won't be it will be a little bit salty, so to say. But, I personally prefer to read electronically. Paper is good to have it in your library, but more convenient is to read electronically.
All right, awesome. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read the book through Alexa and see what happens there. Yeah, and lastly, what is one piece of advice that you would like to provide to the community?
To the community, it's very hard question. I start to hate this notion of the community, because the community is the mankind. It's not some fashion item. It's very, very powerful technology, which can make the life better, the
Mhm.
personal life of so many people better. So maybe this is my message. May the community be the world. And this happens before our eyes.
Awesome, and I hope the community will work together to better the world as well. Thank you, Georgie, for your time.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.